Truth and Tea with the Urban Evangelist. Welcome to Truth and Tea with the Urban Evangelist.
Hi there, I'm the Urban Evangelist, and it's always a pleasure, it's always exciting to welcome you back to Truth and Tea. This week we want to delve into which wisdom of wells to draw from. Words carry a lot of meaning, and from time to time, we all need encouragement and guidance to help us get through difficult situations or feelings of hopelessness. On top of that, we need reminders to stay focused on what is important in life to give us a proper perspective. Thankfully, we can get wise counsel in several ways. Some of the ways to seek help and guidance are through prayer, through the Bible, and the inspired words of pastors, of teachers, of counselors. You get it, right? The wisdom that they provide is what gives us the strength that we need in our daily walk. The Bible says that people lose their way without wise leadership, but a nation succeeds and stands in victory when it has many good counselors to guide it. And today I'm so excited because I've got such a one joining me in the studio. He is a life coach and he's a management strategist. I hope I said that right.
Yes, you did.
On Truth and Tea today is Coach Emmanuel Mukula. Welcome to Truth and Tea.
I'm so grateful, Mainza. Thank you so much. It's such an honor.
It's
Thank
lovely
you very
to
much.
have you.
I'm grateful. Thanks.
Yeah. So I noticed that you're very big on humor. And truth be told, there's posts that I come across that literally, they have me in stitches. Because you've got a way with words. So I want to start you off on a very funny note. I came across a meme that said that yet you say a life coach, like we're all in this, life thing once and we die.
Yes.
And you're a life coach, but like I said, just, to add some
Obviously,
humor
yeah.
to it.
I'll tell you what. We have had very great, human being pass through this earth, and they've not had to die to, provide that wisdom.
Right.
We still have quite a number.
Yeah.
Look at the likes of Miles Monroe. Okay, they didn't have to die for them to. One of my favorite people too, and we have people like T.D. Jakes. They've not had to die for them to actually bring the best out of people.
Exactly.
And yes, that's quite interesting. The last time I actually saw that on Facebook, I was really laughing, and I commented and I said, "You people have started violence." And I said, I was thinking to myself, I think life is about what it is that you want to actually dedicate yourself to, things that you want to actually, dedicate yourself to. And for me, that is what it is that I actually chose. And maybe I've put so much concentration on that, that it justifies, me being a life coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And what do you draw from when it comes to being a life coach? I know sometimes there's often a misunderstanding between, I don't know if the two are used interchangeably, like when it comes to motivational speaking and when it comes to life coaching. Where do you draw your experiences from as a life coach? Do you use your own personal life? And just what does it entail?
Okay, I think it's a combination of both, really. I think for me, it is something that's actually been inherent in me. A little story. I had an opportunity of, that's why it all actually started. I would be talking about maybe 18, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity of being head boy in school, and everybody in school was obviously thinking somebody does something wrong, they actually get punished.
Yeah.
Some actually did get that punishment,
Right.
but I believed that there was a better way of dealing with people.
Yeah.
Okay, rather than just punishing them, I really wanted to have a situation where I can begin to understand what people are actually going through. And it was amazing how my mind was open. It was actually opened to so many things that people are actually going through.
Right.
Every day you have prefects punishing this boy who comes without a tie, no socks, and it's very simple things. Just put on your socks, wear a tie, and come to school. But this is something that keeps happening, and you're wondering to say, okay, fine, how many times have they been punished? So many times. What have we got out of them? Nothing. I used to take time to talk to people, and I began to understand just what people were actually going through.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I actually used to get were really amazing. And at that point, I felt like it was a little too much for me, because you would be getting a situation where you are being told, oh yeah, my father actually hasn't been home the last 1 week.
Oh wow.
You know, my mother drinks, and so much of what was actually happening in people's lives. And it was very natural for me to actually get to advise somebody, and I'm telling them to say, look, here is your father that's actually misbehaving, but then you're in grade 12 and you've got an opportunity of making the best out of yourself. Is this what it is that you actually want to continue? Because what are you making out of yourself? You are reacting to someone that's misbehaving. Accept it. They are your parents. Let's take it like that. But what are you making out of yourself? Yeah. What I saw was people getting back to me to share, you know, how my advice has actually been able to, you know, change them. When Facebook came, I took the opportunity of really wanting to just, you know, post something about life through my personal experiences, the things that I've actually learned. Yeah. And it's amazing how there was a lot of, the response was amazing. Yeah. And I remember when I came to college, I had an opportunity of beginning to do talk shows. I'm always grateful to this lady. She tried me once and they were very happy with me. Chitalu Mulenga.
Okay.
Chitalu brought me on a show. I remember. Yes. Right. I remember some time back. And they were so happy with what it is that I actually did. And later, I think Mary jumped on and we started a really amazing show. It was a household name. Yeah. And from there, I feel I've drawn a lot of inspiration. The response that I've actually been getting keep telling me or confirming something to me to say, you know what, I'm called for this. Yeah. And so far so good. We keep going.
Well, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
we want to pick, you know, from your knowledge, from your wealth. And I think it's actually in the title as well. Like when you look at what a coach does, you know, for a football team, it's not just being prescriptive in nature. I mean, you need a strategy. You need to understand what your players are going through, understand the game of the opponent as well. Yeah. And so when you say that it started even in high school, you know, when you were a head boy trying to understand the needs of your peers at the time.
Exactly.
And try and offer solutions, I think that really speaks to the fact that it's definitely a calling, I'd like to think.
Yes.
Yeah. So in that regard, like you did say something very interesting about when Facebook started, then you began to put out a bit more content as well.
Yes.
But we also see that, you know, there's a sea of information out there now, in the sense that there's everyone dishing out all kinds of knowledge, all kinds of information. And how would you advise a person, you know, to pick who to listen to, who to draw from?
Okay, I'll tell you what, people have got a choice regards where they can actually get advice from. And I think so many times I've answered people like that. And I've said, you know what, you don't have to be forced to get the advice that I actually give because you have a choice. But if I'm given an opportunity to advise somebody on who they should get advice from, I love to give this very interesting example. We have got two types of people that can actually mentor you. And one of them, I call them a travel agent. Okay. And others are a tour guide. Okay, what does a travel agent do? You'll go to their offices and they will tell you about how beautiful Zanzibar is, how nice the hotels are. Chances are they've never been there. They've never gone there. Yeah. A tour guide, every day you go to, we go to these nice, you know, zoos of ours, the national parks. Yes. The tour guide is taking you to a place where they probably go every day. Who would you rather pick? I would rather have a situation where I go for somebody that actually walks the talk. And for me, talking is one thing and living what it is that you actually talk about is another. And for me, that is something that's been very challenging. It's had to do with so much of how I carry myself in public, how I talk to people, and some of them even taking advantage of me, but you know what, we've got our limits. But at the end of the day, I would rather have a situation where people begin to get advice from people that are actually walking the talk. I'm pretty passionate about marriage myself, okay? I'm pretty passionate about a man being a good husband, a man being a good, you know, father to his children. The question should be, am I a good father? Am I a good husband? These are things that we actually need to, you know, these are things that we actually need to ask ourselves. I'll give you a very good example of, I think I'm drawing from somewhere pretty close. That gentleman seated there in the background, Waza's father is a bishop, okay? And when you sit with that man, you do not need to be told he's a bishop. Because by the time you are done with a conversation with him, you will see a man that has seen God in his life. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, those are the type of people that you really want to sit under and get counsel from. You're looking for a marriage counselor. There should be some background of themselves. How are they doing themselves? If you're looking for a motivational speaker, what are they doing themselves? Are they just talking or they are living it? If you're looking for somebody that wants to motivate you to, do something, what are they doing about themselves? One thing I've actually come to learn is that it's very easy for us to just put together something. Now there's ChatGPT, you can, use it here and there and you have something beautiful. But at the end of the day, can you bring yourself out and let people buy into your way of life? And that, for me, is something that is very easy to sell when it comes to giving people advice. So for me, that's it, really. Go for people. If you want advice, you want to grow, pick people that live the talk, period. That's my advice. But like I said, people have a choice.
They have a choice, for sure. But I like that you've said, what really does add credibility to the words that we speak is our experience and how we allowed that to mold us and to shape us.
Exactly.
But I also think in that sense, then it probably in your case has called for vulnerability in sharing your own experiences.
Yeah.
So how easy is that for you, to be very outspoken about some of the things that you've been through? I assume some of them may not be so pleasant. So where do you, just draw the strength to just use yourself really as a talking point to help the next person?
Interesting. Like I said, it's very easy for somebody to get advice from someone that is going through what it is that you've actually, been through yourself. If the person that's giving the advice has been through that, it's very easy for them to actually, talk about that. If somebody is going to come to me and tell me, you can't build a good marriage after divorce. There are people that will tell you that. And I will tell them, no, you can. You actually can. I have been through that, and there are so many people that will also tell you that if the first marriage fails, the second is failing, definitely. No, that is not true. You probably haven't taken yourself to a place where you are able to reflect, look at the mistakes that you made, look at the choices that you made, and you tell yourself, I'm not failing again. I'm moving forward, and I'm doing the right thing because I can afford to fail. We should not be ashamed of sharing our experiences because the past doesn't define us. What it is that I've actually been through does not define me in any way.
Absolutely.
It's about now and what it is that I want to actually do. If I'm going to repeat the mistakes that I've actually made, because I'll tell you what, it may not even have been me that made the mistake, but I'm the sort of person that is so keen on ownership. Okay? If I have a problem with you, I'm not coming to you to tell you, why did you react like that? The first thing I'm thinking about is what could I have done that made me react like that? So that is my position. So if somebody is going to come to me and they are going through certain things that I've actually been through, I'm even happier because then I'm sharing information from what it is that I'm talking about a path I have walked. It's easier that way. I remember a time when I actually had an accident in 2008 that almost killed me.
Wow.
I think I was in hospital for close to 8 months.
That's a long time.
And
we're glad to have you today.
For me, from that time, my prayer was, can I find my purpose? There must be a really good reason why God kept me alive, because there were so many times that I actually sat in different hospitals and I would have people dying next to me. And I was there. I remember once I woke up and I'm telling my auntie that was taking care of me, and I was saying, and she was trying so much to, lie to me and tell me, no, actually, it's not my neighbor, it's the other one. And the following day, my neighbor, the other side, died. And I was telling myself, I think it's probably moving like this. It was here, it is here, now it is probably coming back to me. And I was gripped with so much fear. And one thing that I've always had really is just the will to live. And it was amazing how I remember I was working for Celta, then there was even a rumor that I'd actually died.
Wow. Oh my.
But I'll tell you what, if somebody today comes to me and they are telling me, oh, I'm sick and I'm in hospital, every time I've actually visited somebody and I'm talking to them about being positive, about having the will to live, I have had an amazing response from such people. And that is because I am talking from experience myself. And if there is one thing that I really don't panic about, when I'm unwell. When I'm unwell, I never panic. I'll be up and about unless it really hits me, because I've seen the worst. You know, so it's very good to share your experiences, because you clearly don't know who they actually are touching. And it's amazing how every day my inbox is filled with people who actually, you know, talk about how I've touched them in so many lives. Sometime last week, my wife and I were in Dubai. I get a call from this gentleman who follows me on Facebook, and he's telling me, I actually work here.
Oh, wow.
I've really been wanting to actually meet you, and I have this opportunity. Please wait for me and let me meet you at the hotel. So he came through to actually meet us, and it was amazing how this is a gentleman that's doing very well. Okay,
amazing.
Obviously better than me financially even, but he's talking about how I've really touched his marriage. I've spoken into his life. I've spoken into the life of his wife. And that for me gives me the reason to want to move on, to want to keep doing it. Sometimes we are mocked. Sometimes we are, you know, a lot of things are said. But at the end of the day, it is something that I actually get a lot of fulfillment from when I do it. Yeah.
You've touched on quite a number of things.
A lot.
And but what's really coming to the fore is like, at least for now in this conversation up until this point, is the marriage element.
Yes.
And you just also alluded to, you know, someone meeting you all the way in Dubai because you've touched his marriage based on the things that you share about. But I imagine that to go through a divorce must have been a really low point in your life. So how did you use that to propel yourself into the man you are, the husband you are, so much so that it has now gone beyond you into just trying to positively impact and shape the marriages that we see in our society today? Because you do speak via an advocate, and we'll get to that, but you're very outspoken in that regard.
I would tell you what. At that point, when I was actually going through my divorce, I remember very well, it was in 2012. At that point, I felt like a failure, a total failure. I felt like I was a nobody. I felt like I had nothing to tell people. The reason is very simple. For me, success begins from having a happy home, period. If I'm not happy at home, I don't care how much money I have. Everything is wrong. And I've lived like that. I saw how, I wouldn't say my mother and my father were in a bad relationship. No, they still are married. But I just believed I could have better. I could have better. I could have a wife that I can respect, a wife that I can be accountable to, a wife that can support me because I'm being a man that she expects me to be. I believed I could actually have better. When that happened, I felt like a total failure, like there really wasn't anything for me to actually offer. And it was amazing how, you know, a lot of people knew me and the conclusions were drawn pretty fast. I was wrong, period. You know, and I think I would have actually died in 2013. But I remember a friend of mine, he's around, his name is Cuthbert. He was working somewhere, he was a productions manager for some firm. They got a client that needed somebody to actually do some work, because that happened when I was not actually working even. So he says, I want you to go away. Walafwa.
Like leave town?
Yes, he said, I want you to go away. You are going to die. And I thought to myself, okay.
What do you ask, were you depressed?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
And how I wish I'd carried that photo. You probably would have seen.
You can always send it.
I was actually trying to be very happy. But clearly you could tell that I was really down. So he organizes some gig for me. I think it was for close to a year. I needed to do some work with somebody in Durban. So I left the country and went there. It was amazing how I got to do a lot of reflection, a lot of, you know, everything that happens to you, even if it's somebody that actually causes it on you. Like I've said, ownership. And I'm telling myself, if something goes wrong, obviously somewhere along the way, I made a bad choice. Okay, I did something bad. And for me, that was a really amazing time for me to actually get to heal. And the time I was actually coming back, I was far much better. I found my feet and I told myself it's going to actually work. I tried the dating. Let's not go there. But hey, we are here now. There's a lot of lessons I've actually picked from there. there is so much that people go through, and some people don't actually take it well. And what was even more interesting, let me say what was worse, was how that a good number of my family members believed I was wrong.
Wow.
And I didn't get a lot of support.
And do you think that's something that men catch a lot of flack for? Like in such instances, like maybe a divorce occurs or a marriage fails, as I think as society, we're always quick to point the finger at the man.
Yeah,
it's say he must have done something for this to happen.
It's amazing how anybody that's been close to me would tell you, I've never uttered a bad word about that person to date. We had 2 kids together. I'm with them, okay, beautiful children. All I have is respect for the fact that she's the mother of my 2 children, and I think because of the fact that I didn't actually become, bitter. I wasn't bitter for a long time. It helped me heal, and I actually got to move on. Yeah, it's. I'll tell you that it's very easy for people to talk about stuff that they have actually not been through.
True.
To talk about who was wrong without really understanding who really was. Yeah. Okay, and that's acceptable. A few days ago, there's this thing of people, insulting each other on Facebook, and a celebrity responding and doing that. And I was saying, look, when we decide to be who we want to actually be, we need to be ready for what it is that actually comes our way. Because everybody feels entitled to an opinion about our lives. And it's something we need to be ready for. Because I remember the same time that I was actually going through a divorce, when I went to Durban, there was a story on social media that I was dating somebody in South Africa.
Wow. Wow. Just kept getting better.
It actually kept getting more and more interesting for other people, but they had no idea what it is I was actually going through. And I'm glad I did go through that. And maybe I'm beginning to value happiness more than I did. I'm beginning to value so many things that I actually didn't then, and I'm not leaving any stone unturned to make my marriage work. That's my position, and I want to see that in so many people. Yeah. Maybe that is why I'm pretty passionate about it. I'm so passionate about, talking about a good marriage, because I believe it's an amazing foundation for growth, an amazing foundation for success, an amazing foundation for the children that you are raising as a couple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, strong kingdoms begin with strong families. It's as simple as that.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're an advocate for mind transformation, for mind shifts, whether it's from an entrepreneurial perspective, bettering oneself. How do you manage to, propel the message of let's shift our mindsets when sometimes the environment is very opposed to shifting our beliefs and the norms and what's always prevailed? How do you keep strong sometimes in the wake of opposition?
I'll tell you what. If when you are doing work that doesn't have any opposition, you really would not know how good you are with it. In fact, people will not even appreciate it because you obviously are not putting in so much. Yes, there are still people that actually believe, you know what, for me, I need to go to school, come out, get a job, and live my life. Yeah. And I'm telling my kids at home, I don't care what you want to actually be, but I want you to have survival skills. Because you might want to actually be a doctor. But today, we have a lot of doctors who've never worked, and they've graduated maybe 6 years now. They've never worked. The last thing I want is to see that in my children. So I tell them, I want you to go out there and be a doctor if you like. I want you to go out there and be an engineer if you like. But more than anything, I want you to have survival skills. And I give people a really good example of myself. I did human resource myself. I held good jobs in the telecoms, Airtel, MTN. I worked with iConnect, a number of organizations. Yeah. I never had an HR job. What if my mind was just set on me being an HR person? I would probably be frustrated today. Maybe God was saying, don't be that, because you can actually be better. Today I train human resource people, I train directors with our consulting firm. So I am so keen on people having survival skills. I'm so keen on people not depending on their one source of income. I'm so keen on people not getting loans to live by. And I feel that we don't need to actually go very far to see just how messed up we are. Today, you will have a lot of people who literally, it's like it's a way of life. When they get paid, they are more stressed than they are when they are broke. because they have got more bills to pay than the money that they actually make. And when you talk about entrepreneurship, we still have people that are pretty negative about it. But the truth is, those same people are really suffering. Today, something that really breaks my heart is how our leaders, there are very few people that are very honest about our situation. I love to tell people to say, today, if the government got up and decided to employ 50,000 teachers, 50,000 nurses, 50,000 soldiers, we would still have a problem with employment in the country. Because every day, we have people that are graduating in thousands. Every day, we have so many people being thrown on the market for that. And I'm telling myself, how is the situation going to be in 5, 6, 7, 10 years from now? It will be a mess. I run a Salaola business myself. I have had people who have degrees that have come to me and they've said, find me something to do. Whatever it is you have for me, can I do it so I can be a man in my home because I'll be able to feed my family? So I'm thinking to myself, why would we have somebody still tell people jobs will come, jobs will come? And that's where the mindset shift comes in. We need to begin to tell ourselves that it's not up to another person to change our situation. Life doesn't have a remote control. We have to get up to do it ourselves. And I love the fact that I've been able to give myself as an example of what it is that I actually have become. If I were working and I was maybe even human resource manager somewhere else, I probably would not live as well as I live today. That's what I tell people. And that just goes to show that we do not have to, believe me, we do have a lot of work to do in that regard. And if we can touch 3, 4, 5 people in a day, touch them and they actually change the way they think, we are headed somewhere. But there's a lot of work to be done. People need to change their mindset towards life. They need to change their mindset towards survival. They need to change their mindset towards a job, because a job can also be created by yourself.
Absolutely.
From the time I actually got married with my wife, none of us has ever worked. My wife was working in the bank. She quit. None of us has ever worked. But the truth is, we've never lacked. Because we have put our minds on something that we want to work on, and we do that every day. In difficult times, in good times, we keep pushing it. One of the things that I love to tell people, especially those that choose to want to actually work on themselves, I tell them, be accountable. Be accountable with your time. Be accountable with what it is that you actually do through the day. And you are going to see yourself growing every day, and you make something out of yourself. You can't wake up in the morning and do nothing and come in the night and you can't point at anything productive that you actually did and still call yourself an entrepreneur. It's not like that. A lot of friends think that I'm too busy for them. No, I am not. I make myself busy and productive because that's what I need to actually be. When people are working, they find themselves so committed to doing the best they can for that particular organization. You start your own business, put in the same amount of commitment and seriousness, and you will actually succeed. We need to change the way we actually think, and we'll then begin to understand that there is so much that lie ahead for us.
I've seen you post like plenty of times, about the Salaola business, the secondhand business, secondhand clothes. I think part of the shift also perhaps for you was, the kind of streams of income that you get into. And, I say this coming from a well-meaning place. There's some people that honestly would feel like selling secondhand clothes is beneath them. And I'm being very honest at that, like, especially from perhaps a male perspective, because we women are the ones who deal in clothes a lot, or beddings. And I hope you're hearing where I'm coming from with
I'm
this.
actually getting you.
But you decided that this is one of the routes that you would take, so much so that you are now wholesalers in the business, supplying to other people. And it's something that I'm not sure if it's part of what you do with your wife. It's just a fraction of it. But then you seem to be doing really well in that space. How have you managed to navigate that space as a couple and just get into something that, regardless of what the next person might have to say about it, it's working for you, so much so that it's even an income. It's generating money for you.
A few days ago, I was actually telling Waza to say, I need to do t-shirts where I'm going to just say, Paseka Fieta Bakamilishe. You know what I mean?
I like that.
I feel that
They'll laugh, but they can't feed you.
Yes. They will laugh at you. They will laugh at what you do.
Yeah.
But believe me, they will never feed you. A lot of people have actually asked me, and they've said, why this person that trains organizations, the following day is actually selling salaola. Well, at least I'm not standing and shouting and saying fiabuela buela. I'm doing it in a different way, and no problem with those that are actually doing that. It's really good.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that I think I saw a niche.
Yeah.
I saw a market, and it is something that has actually worked well for me. And if somebody is going to, and the motivation with this business, firstly, it is something that I always loved doing. And the other thing about it is that it's my cash cow. It's my low-hanging fruit. I'm a consultant. We do training, and you don't always train. You would go a month without doing that.
Right.
But my kids need to eat.
Yeah.
My wife needs to have some fuel in a vehicle to run around and do what she wants. I need to do that. So if somebody is going to tell me something like, oh yeah, salaola, you sell salaola, a lot of people have actually commented like that, and I've laughed and I've said, I have built a house that's worth millions from salaola. Okay, the vehicle I'm driving now is bought by salaola.
Wow.
The one my wife is driving is bought by salaola. Most of the stuff, I'm taking my kids to a really good school. I'm paying with salaola. Can you tell me why I shouldn't do it?
Absolutely not.
Exactly. I go to different countries for holidays with my wife. I pay that with salaola. Why shouldn't I do it? That's a really good, and this is something that I actually love to do. I really love to do it. And the other thing that I've also come to, I have a very interesting principle with the sort of businesses that I actually get into. I tell myself, I love to get into businesses where I don't have to invest so much. And I'll tell you that when I started this business, I didn't invest much in it.
Okay.
What I did was go to the big suppliers, and I told them, I have the numbers, reduce for me. And I remember in the first year that I actually started that, I think I made profits of over 900,000 in 1 year.
Wow. That's
and I'm
incredible.
telling myself, yes, and we are still doing that. So why would somebody come to you and tell you, Mushti shafe salaola? The truth is that the people you see seated on the floor in town, those people are educating their children at very expensive universities, and they are paying. They are building houses, those people. And this is the reason why we actually have a lot of people dying, a lot of people wallowing in poverty and dying with debt, because they are so scared of what the next person will actually say. They are really scared. Mainza tumona pa TV ile lwaleshisha salaola. No. The idea is it working for you? Exactly. Is it something that is bringing you fulfillment? Do you love what it is that you actually do? I love the stress that comes with it, but I also love the money that actually comes with it. And I love the fact that I am happy when clients are actually happy. So I will always do it, and I will not have to care about what it is that people are going to actually say, because I know where I'm coming from. I know what I do. I know how I do it, and I know what I'm getting out of there. So if there's somebody out there that is actually watching us, pride can never feed somebody.
No.
Pride can never feed somebody.
No.
It can never feed somebody.
You've just taken me down you've just taken me down my memory lane, like an interesting walk down memory lane, in the sense that that's a lesson my mother taught me, you know, from a tender age. So she was an air hostess when Zambia Airways was operational. And then we all know what happened to that airline. It got liquidated. And to make ends meet, my mom's a great cook. Yeah, she passed on that skill to me.
Okay.
And she started making food from her kitchen. Like she started making pies, wraps, sausage rolls. And I was in 9th grade, and I would go to the airport. And this is the airport that knew her for being a flight attendant. She was grounded. She became a ground air hostess. So from international flights to now selling food at the airport. But on top of that, you've also got your daughter helping you. But I would go there, and we didn't have a car, and I would hitch rides from the airport roundabout to the airport, go and sell. But I saw money come in like that. So I would never frown on anyone's hustle. You're not begging anybody for anything. You are not compromising yourself or your values, but money is coming in, and I'm all for that. That's
where we actually need to get to. A few friends that I've taken to a project I'm doing would always ask me and say, how much did the bank give you for you to actually finance this? And I laugh and say, do you know that I don't even owe somebody a 10,000 kwacha?
Yeah.
It's all been about what it is that we actually do.
Yeah.
Okay? We need to have our self-esteem in place. It's very important. We need to develop some seriously thick skin, not to let what people are saying come to us. We need to understand that not everybody is built for tie, suit. Not everybody is built. And I will tell you that. We also have a lot of people that are owing banks wearing ties, okay? And we have millionaires that wear jeans every day.
True.
So let's know what it is that actually works for us and let's do it. As long as it is legitimate, let us do it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Very well said. You've really highlighted accountability. You've really placed great emphasis on it. So much so that you've not assigned blame for anything that's happened to you on anyone or anything. And I think you've refused to be a victim of your circumstances, from what I've gathered.
Yes.
How does someone, get over what life perhaps might have thrown at them to just come out of a difficulty that they're at, whether it's a lost job or they can't seem to find employment,
Yes.
How do you shake off assigning blame for what hasn't happened for you yet or what has failed in your life? How do you shake that off and just pick up the pieces of whatever it is?
Firstly, Maisa, we need to ask
forward.
ourselves. We need to ask ourselves something that's very important. If something happens and I keep blaming you for it, how is it helping me? How is it helping me? It will make me feel good because at least I've got somebody I can pass the blame to. You understand? But it will never help me.
Yeah.
I love to give this very silly example where I tell people, we lack ownership, we lack accountability. You go to the hospital today and you're told you've got COVID, or you've got malaria, or you've got this disease. You might die if you don't actually do anything about it. And they prescribe some medicine and they tell you, Maisa, go home. This is the medicine, you need to take it. If you do not agree to the fact that you actually are sick of that disease, you will never take that medicine and you might die. That's how it is when we refuse to take ownership, when we refuse to be accountable.
Yeah.
We need to come to a place where we tell ourselves it's about me, it's not about the other person. Okay? That is why sometimes I love to tell people, even when somebody hurts you, you can even forgive them without telling them that you have.
Yeah.
You can forgive
So
them
true.
and not even bring them close because you already have and you can actually move forward. Whatever situation that somebody is actually in, when you decide to shift blame onto another person, it does not in any way help you. It stagnates you. It keeps you at the same place and you can't grow like that. I believe that the time that I began to see good things happen in my life is the moment I learned that accountability is very important. Even with my kids, for me, that is something that I've taught them. We would fight a lot about who broke this, and everybody is saying, oh no, it is this one, no, it is that one. Now they come and they will say, no, this is what happened. I did this and I appreciate that. We come back from where we'd gone with my wife and we find the TV is not working. So I'm asking, what happened to the TV? And I'm telling them, you see, if you lie to us, then we can't help you. We can't sort it out.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we switched it off. We went to sleep. We came back, switched it on. We only had the sound. And I know what the problem is. And we're able to sort it out. For as long as you are not in a place where you can take accountability, take ownership, you will never grow as a person. This is why today we have a lot of people who tell you, I am 50 and they still behave like they are 30. Or I am 45 and they still behave like they are 25. Why? Because there's no ownership. There's no accountability. There's no acceptance of the fact that this is who I am and this is what it is that I've actually become. Whatever situation that you actually are in, you will never get to anywhere good if you do not deal with the fact that you have something to do with it.
Yeah.
If you have lost a job, can you, before you complain and speak ill of the organization or whoever fired you, can you look at what you might have done to get yourself fired?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with relationships. Let's take, for instance, I actually come out of the divorce that I was talking about, and with the same mindset, the same mentality, the same way of doing things, I get into another. Chances are that it is actually failing. We don't learn We don't take ownership. We don't take accountability.
Yeah.
We need to learn to profit from our mistakes. We need to learn to profit from our experiences so we don't actually make them again.
Yeah.
So accountability, ownership is something that we all need to have.
Yeah.
When someone is accountable, when someone takes ownership, I can rest assure you, you can feel the maturity
Yes.
with them.
Yes.
You can feel the maturity in what they say and the things that they actually do because they have that ownership.
Yeah.
And more than anything, I love to tell people, as you live your life, find people that you can be accountable to. Find people that you can be accountable to. Sometimes I laugh and I tell ladies, if you're marrying a man that can't listen to anybody, you are in trouble.
Red flag.
And the problems that you are going to have, you will never sort them out. Sometimes it is that breadwinner that everybody looks up to.
So
and
true.
Nobody can talk because they know that they will cut edge.
Exactly.
But irrespective of the position that you actually are at, find people that you can be accountable to. Find even your partner should know, if I can go to Mainza and talk about what Emmanuel has done, Emmanuel will stop what he's doing, drive to Mainza's and hear why Mainza is calling him.
Yeah.
That is important. And I am very happy that I have such people in my life that I know my wife can run to. And when they call, I know I'm going to get counsel and grow out of there. It's very important. We are not islands. We depend on people.
Yeah.
And more than anything, ownership, accountability should be a part of us. It's very important.
You just took the next question literally right out of my mouth, because I was going to say that, accountability doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Yes.
I mean, you need people around you to help you grow, to water you. And that's why the Bible, I mean, as much as it's big on us confessing our sins before God,
yes,
it also says confess your sins to one another.
Exactly.
So there is that vertical accountability, not
yes,
just the horizontal one, like us and God. But
exactly.
then I should be able to, seek out counsel from you, guidance from you, and you
yes,
should be able to, love me with the truth as well,
yes,
and tell me that, you've gone off course here,
yes,
you've veered off your path. Yeah. So I'm glad that you've already touched on
yes,
being accountable, to people, because as much as you pour into others, I'd like to believe that you also have others pouring right back into you.
Very important.
And
that's
you
very
keep that
true.
cycle going.
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah.
So, Coach, today is Friday, and
yes,
I've not yet seen your weekend post.
We stopped talking about that when they got the message.
They got the message, are you sure?
I think they did. Maybe we should do it.
Because on a very sad note, we read the news of a young lady that lost her life during a sleepover.
No.
At her boyfriend's house. I think this was 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yes. She died at her boyfriend's house, a university student. She had gone for a sleepover. And that's something that you're very vocal about. Like, ladies, stop this business of packing up your weekend bags and going to camp at your boyfriend's home. Why do you think, this sense of cohabitation, it's become so easy to do, especially amongst young people in our time?
I'll tell you that in most cases, I think there's an element of desperation. There's also an element of, thinking that, of course, that's still desperation, actually. Yeah. Somebody thinking that they are raising chances of being with somebody or building a future with somebody because they can actually go out there, spend a night with them and go and be a wife, before time. I have, sometimes I actually come out a little strong with the ladies, and some take offense. But let us understand something that's very important. To the ladies, we need to understand something that's very important. There's a lot that's on a lady when it comes to respect. A woman should be respected. And in as much as we need to actually respect a woman, how much respect is she placing on herself? I love to say, a lady needs to let a man have something he's waiting for. A lady needs to let a man have something that he looks forward to.
Right.
You understand? Yeah. That is pride. That is respect. Okay? This is why sometimes you will actually have men that have joked and they have said, why am I going to a lady and pay a very big lobola, and yet other men had what I'm getting for free? That shouldn't be said. That shouldn't be there. We shouldn't get to that place. We need to be at a place where you keep yourself with respect. You know nothing wrong with visiting a man, but know where you end. It's something that is actually very important. And it's amazing how some of these things are actually becoming like fashion. Cohabiting has become like it's fashion.
Yeah.
Some people will even say, no, we are not cohabiting, actually, we're just doing it partially, because I'll go over the weekend and then come back on Wednesday, then go to my house. Yeah. No, you are cohabiting, period. Yeah. And we don't need to find very good terms to actually use for that. It is cohabiting, period. And I feel that it is also very disrespectful even to our parents. It's extremely disrespectful. When you, as a lady, begin to sell, I love to use this term and I hope I'm not being too strong. When you begin to sell yourself cheap to a man, don't expect to get a lot of respect from this person. We have a lot of people who today we believe are actually married and yet they are just cohabiting. And it is not surprising to hear men disrespect them by saying, "Waikusi shefye, inenshalefwa no kukupa." That is a shame. We need to get to a place where we go back to the basics. There is no marriage until two families meet. And before they meet, please don't meet. In that regard, a lady should keep herself with respect, and I pray that we go back to these very, very principles. I remember a time when ladies would proudly say abstinence. Today we are even ashamed or scared to say that because it's not happening. Yeah. But I believe that is...
We used to have adverts, the Virgin Power, Virgin Pride
abstinence, iliche, and would have all that.
Yeah.
That's what we actually need to get back to. Yeah. And I must actually say that you as a lady telling yourself, I'll be at his house, I will wash, I will do everything that I actually can, you are not in any way raising chances of him being with you. A man wants to be with who he wants to. This is why you will have a situation where someone will cohabit with someone for 4 years. They will leave you, and 1 month later they will actually marry somebody else. You are busy telling yourself, I'm marking my territory. It is not your territory. There could be another person marking it. A few days ago, we had a lady that was sweeping outside. I think she was washing, and somebody was saying, "Mwenda ku sleep over, you even wash." And I was thinking to myself to say, okay, fine, if this is true, we probably have neighbors that are even saying, "Oh yeah, last week kwenze kukaja ko yonda, lelo kwa bwela uyu." You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no respect in that. And my prayer is that we get to a place where firstly ladies begin to respect themselves, and we have men that respect women. Yeah. But more than anything, respect themselves before they respect these women, because you don't give what what you don't have for yourself. So that one, I won't stop talking. I will keep talking because at the end of the day, I know there are people. It's
interesting because you don't really get that take, coming from a man.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what I find very interesting in the sense that you also actually tackle both teams very well. You don't just park on women don't do it, but also like men do the right thing. Men step up.
Yes.
Men don't use and abuse women. Yes. So you don't spare the rod on either side.
There's always one gender that is saying I'm doing it more for the other.
No, I think you keep it very balanced.
Yeah,
you keep it very balanced.
Yeah.
So as we begin to wind up our conversation, you've learned from your experiences. How have you ensured that there's no backpedaling on the decisions that you've made to better yourself, to grow yourself? What does that look like, in your life, to just keep growing from strength to strength?
I'll tell you what, I think for me, and it's something, I love the question that you've asked, because this is something that I really love to challenge the men with. I believe that association brings impartation. The way you position yourself as an individual has so much to do with how much growth you actually get as a person. When you're married, can you have people that are married as your friends? Not to say that there's something wrong with the unmarried, no. But can you have more of those that are actually married because you have something to talk about? When you are doing business, can you have people that are doing business because you learn from them? When you are struggling and you are saying, I'm not growing, I'm not investing, I'm not doing this, can you have friends that are doing that? People say if I'm dealing with one person that is actually broke and I'm looking at 5 friends, chances are that, if 5 friends are broke, chances are that even you are equally broke. I think it's actually very true. There is so much that we actually feed off our association.
Yeah.
We need to begin to look at people that can challenge us for better. People that can challenge us to do things that we never thought we would actually do. Yeah. It's amazing how, personally, most of my friends are older and doing way better.
Okay.
And I think for me, it is something that has come to it's something that has really helped me, because I look at them and I say, at a distance, I actually thought I wouldn't do this, but then I'm doing it now. Why? Because it becomes normal when you are always in contact with people that are actually doing it. Association brings invitation. If you want to grow as a person, position yourself properly. And more than anything, the accountability that we talked about, people that you can be accountable to, and setting goals. Even when it comes to issues of marriage, when people get married today, you don't want to be at the same point. You don't want to be at the same level. What you want is to have a situation where you can have those they call couple goals. You're telling yourself, what are we working towards this year? What are we working towards next year? What are we? You need to have something that can let you sit in December and say, we did something.
We did that.
We managed to do this and that. We need to be accountable towards ourselves, and we need to set our goals right. And more than anything, let us position ourselves properly among people that can challenge us to grow. We should not feel inferior when we are among people that are doing better. That's the challenge. We don't have to feel inferior. We have to learn from them. And it's amazing how a lot of people would rather feel inferior, would rather feel, they'll feel intimidated. No, you have an opportunity to learn. Everything that I've ever started, I have never gone to a mold where I tell myself, I am competition. No. Go in, get to know them, learn from them, grow yourself. That's it.
You've actually dropped a gem on me, and it's interesting in that just earlier today I read that if you're always the sharpest or the best in the room, then it means that you're in the wrong room. Because sometimes we find comfort, in environments and surroundings that we seem to be thriving in, and yet it goes back to what you're saying. We're not surrounding ourselves with people that can teach us something new.
People that are challenging us.
People that can grow us to a point where we literally feel ourselves out of depth, like a fish out of water. So that's definitely a great take home for me.
We definitely need to actually keep ourselves in check. We need to do that.
And equally, I'm thinking now, what else can I do for income?
You know what I mean?
Hand on heart. It doesn't matter what it looks like. There's been so many times where I've made attempts to open a restaurant, start and stop, close shop, but I love to cook.
You do it.
So
you do it again.
Honestly, you've put a spark.
You need to do it again.
Back in my heart.
You need to do it again, and I can be your accountable partner.
I'll
check with you, and I'll say what's happening with the restaurant.
Oh, I trust you. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I can count on you for that one.
Definitely.
Now, Coach, it's been a very interesting, enlightening episode with you. And I know we could go on and on and on.
Definitely, I'm
but
telling
this
you.
just means that you need to come back for part 2.
There's no problem. I'll be happy to come back.
Because, there seems to be no end to your insights and to your wisdom.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful you could have me. This means a lot. When my wife heard I'm having a program with you, she was excited. She was like, oh, you're doing it? I said yes.
Send my warmest regards.
I will greet her. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you could have me. It's an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So this has been one of those wisdom episodes where we have literally had someone pour out of their cup of wisdom into us. And I know that I'm not the only one that's picked something, especially on elements to do with ownership. Always take ownership for your mess. As a student of Rhema, we say that when you mess up, fess up. That's ownership. Take accountability of your life and have people that you're accountable to. And at the same time, your value does not diminish because of the other person's inability to see it. Value yourself as a man, as a woman. But also he talked about, as a man, being able to just leave a painful environment to be intentional about his healing process. That's something that really ministered to me, and I hope it has to you too. So you know what to do. Just search on YouTube for the Radio Christian Voice channel and the Urban Evangelist. And as always, these are conversations that we filter through faith, because God's word is the absolute truth and standard for all things that we do. So catch us again next week, same place, same space. Bye for now.